Welcome to my channel, The World of Science Fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Asterisk on the alien world of Thalassia, where buildings rose like glowing mountains, and the sky shimmered with floating crystal moons. A human foreigner named Ryland stood trembling inside the enormous chamber of his landlord, giant alien woman known as Lady Vale, a figure feared and respected across the entire city. The room around him felt alive with echoes, the floors humming under her footsteps as she approached, her body towering like a silver-blue monolith of living strength. Ryland swallowed hard as her shadow swallowed him completely. She stopped only a few feet away, though at her size it felt like standing beside a living cliff face, and there was a cold smile on her lips that made his heart hammer painfully. Ryland tried to speak, tried to explain why he couldn't pay the rent for the oversized quarters he had unknowingly rented in her district. But every time she tilted her head and watched him with those glowing eyes, the words tangled in his throat. He wasn't just nervous, he was terrified, ashamed, and overwhelmed by the feeling that his life was slowly slipping out of his hands. Lady Vale examined him in silence, her gaze sharp enough to cut through excuses. And in that silence, Ryland felt smaller than ever, like he was nothing more than a bug waiting for judgment. He explained how he had been tricked by a job offer that fell apart, how his translator broke, how he got lost in the alien system, but her expression never softened. Instead, she leaned down until her face was close enough that he could feel her breath, warm and scented with strange flowers, wash over him. Her voice, when she finally spoke, echoed across the chamber with a power that rattled the metal beams overhead. She told him calmly, and almost too calmly, that money was not the only way to pay a debt on this world. As she straightened slowly to her full height, the room darkened under her shadow, and for the first time, Ryland felt a chill run through him that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with the strange intensity in her eyes. There had always been rumors about Lady Vale, rumors whispered by aliens in markets and dark taverns. They said she was strict but fair, beautiful but frightening, mysterious but never merciful to liars. Yet Ryland sensed something more behind her gaze, something deeper, something that felt almost like curiosity. She circled him slowly, each footstep sending a soft vibration through the floor as she studied him from every angle, like an artifact she had just discovered. Ryland could barely breathe as she crouched and extended one enormous hand toward him, not threateningly, but expectantly, as if offering him a place to stand. He hesitated, heart pounding, because the gesture didn't just feel like an invitation. It felt like a test of courage or obedience or trust. He could not tell which. When he finally stepped onto her massive palm, he felt the soft skin beneath him shift slightly. And then she lifted him higher and higher until the whole city appeared beneath them like a glowing sea of light. Suspense tightened his chest as she carried him through a towering corridor and into a crystalline observatory that seemed to float above the world. Here, Lady Vale's voice grew quieter, gentler, but no less powerful as she revealed the truth behind her interest in him. She explained that her noble house was being watched, threatened, and slowly ruined by a hidden traitor. Someone close to her had been feeding information to her enemies, causing political damage she could not openly fight back against. She could not trust her own kind, she said, because they were too large, too noticeable, too easy to track. But a human small, quick, clever, underestimated could go where giants could not. She looked at Ryland with an intensity so sharp that he felt his breath catch. And for the first time, her cold expression softened into something almost emotional, a blend of exhaustion, frustration, and hope she dared not show anyone else. She needed someone she could command, someone desperate enough to accept the danger, someone with nothing left to lose, and she believed that someone was him. Ryland felt his entire world shift as he realized the true weight of the offer. This wasn't just about rent. This was about loyalty, risk, and placing his life in the hands of a woman who could crush him between her fingers, but instead chose to trust him. Fear battled with bravery in his chest. On one side was the terrifying truth of what she wanted: espionage, secrecy, planting himself between powerful alien forces who might kill him without hesitation. On the other side was the equally terrifying alternative: being thrown out into the streets of a world that did not care about humans or their survival. After a long moment, Ryland bowed his head and accepted her terms. Lady Vale lowered him gently back onto the balcony floor, her massive frame casting long shadows around him. But before he could step away, she leaned down so close that her voice brushed against his ear like a whisper of wind. She told him that from this night forward, until the traitor was exposed, he was hers, her eyes, her hands, her shadow, her secret. The softness in her tone twisted into something darker, almost possessive, as she warned him that betrayal would cost him more than his life. Ryland shivered, caught between fear of her and a strange, inexplicable desire to earn her approval. She placed a small, glowing data device in his hands, filled with fragmented clues she had gathered but lacked the means to investigate. Then she turned away and dismissed him with a single gesture, though he could feel her gaze on his back long after he walked out of the chamber. Ryland stepped into the long, dim corridor of her estate, clutching the device tightly. The air felt heavier out here, thicker, as if the very walls knew he had entered a new life. As he walked deeper into the silent hallways, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Lights flickered overhead, strange alien symbols glowed faintly along the walls, and shadows stretched in unnatural ways, as though something unseen was moving behind him. Every step echoed too loudly. Every breath felt too thin. Then, just as he reached the corridor's end, a voice whispered from the darkness, cold, angry, and far too close to his ear. "Human, you chose the wrong side." Ryland spun around, but there was no one. Only darkness and silence. His heart thudded painfully as he realized the truth. The traitor already knew he existed. His mission had begun before he had even taken his first step. A chill crawled down his spine as he stared into the empty hallway. Somewhere in Lady Vale's own home, someone was stalking him, not because he was a threat, but because he was her choice. And in a world ruled by giants, being chosen by someone as powerful as Lady Vale made him a target for enemies he had never imagined. Yet as fear squeezed his chest, another feeling rose quietly beneath it: determination. For the first time since arriving on Thalasia, he had a purpose bigger than survival. He had something to fight for, something to uncover, someone depending on him. And whether he admitted it or not, he wanted to prove himself worthy of Lady Vale's dangerous trust. Ryland took a deep breath, squared his shoulders, and stepped into the shadows ahead, knowing that whatever happened next would change his life forever. If you want to hear what happens next, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications, because the next chapter will reveal the traitor's first move and Ryland's first deadly mistake.